Hi, I'm Daniel. This is the TriathlonDan YouTube channel, and I know I have some explaining to do, so please let me. This video is going to be the gift that keeps on giving, so please do stick around to the end. I promise it'll be worth your while. So in order to explain what got me to this point today, I need to wind the clock back a couple of months. I'm scouring Facebook, I'm scouring eBay, I'm looking for my next time trial and triathlon bike. I'm 6'2", not much comes up in my size in the second-hand market, and equally, not much comes up at an affordable price point to me. There's lots of bikes for sale that are top spec, top money. Bikes seem to be holding their value a crazy amount nowadays, and it's just not within reach for me. So my budget and my scope is to look for something that perhaps others wouldn't. So maybe a bike that has a few scuffs and scrapes, maybe a bike that's got a mismatched spec that doesn't appeal to everybody. That is right up my street. Now, coupled with that, I run this YouTube channel, right? And of course I want it to grow. I want to do this thing like lots more. Now, I watch a fair bit of YouTube as well. I'm also quite interested like in the car world, car modification world. And if you're interested in that world, you will probably know there's a YouTuber called Matt Armstrong. And his channel is all about building and repairing crashed cars or damaged cars or flood damaged cars. But it actually started because his girlfriend crashed her car and he repaired it on the driveway, bought it back from the insurance, then drove it, then sold it, I think. And then he's just built from there, and now he's building supercars. Now, I'm not going to be buying any supercars anytime soon. However, I love the fact that he's made a story out of repairing cars, and it came from a true passion of his that he thought, oh, I can make a few quid by buying this car back from the insurance, fixing it, and then using it and or selling it. So I was looking out for a bike that had some problems, not necessarily to sell it, but definitely to buy it, to fix it up and to use it, so that then I could hopefully get on a bike that I wouldn't otherwise be able to buy. And that's where this bike came in. Now, I know it looks really good at the minute, but there's some things I need to tell you about it. So about 2 months or so ago, the seller, who's reasonably local to me, put that up for sale. I straight on it, message, yeah, fine, dead interested, yeah, I'll have it. This bike's actually been crashed. I'm gonna come back to the damage in a little while, but it is crash damaged. And he then explored the Canyon sort of frame replacement scheme that they offer to the first owner for the first few years that you own the bike. So he said, unfortunately, it's not for sale anymore. He didn't realize it was a thing. Canyon were gonna sell him another frame for, I think it was £1,100, something like that. So he said, yeah, it's no longer for sale anymore. Fine, not a problem, worth a shot anyway. In the interim, I then managed to secure another bike, a Cervelo P series that I've actually put a video up on this channel about, and I thought that was going to be my bike, and it still might be, I'm not quite sure. But in the interim, this bike has become available again because the gentleman tells me that the Canyon replacement scheme, they couldn't offer him another yellow frame, they could only offer him a blue or black frame or another colour, and they couldn't get some forks to match, so he would have had mismatched forks and would have had to sort it himself and so on, so not ideal. So he essentially said, look, if you're still interested, you can buy this from me and I'm going to buy a new one. So fair enough, struck a deal. I got it for an amount of money that I think it's worthwhile exploring this thing, whilst also trying to make a video series of it. So yeah, there's my little nod towards Matt Armstrong, my little project, and potentially the bike that I'm going to ride next year. I do also want to mention that I've tried for a couple of months now to try and get some bikes on the channel, to try and get some demo bikes, test them, ride them, do some video content on them, and send them back to the manufacturer with little success. I think I've not got enough of that style of content on my channel. Maybe it's not big enough, whatever the reason, I've not been able to, and I really want to do that style of content. So the only way I can do that is by getting my own bikes and doing that on, and hopefully that other stuff will then follow, but if it doesn't, no problem. I also think whenever you see, oh, sponsored by, got this bike from, it's generally speaking the top spec one that's like 12 grand, and that's not me. This is me. So that's what I'm going to try and do with this, and potentially another bike I've got in the works as well. Try and document that you can buy, fix, modify bikes that aren't crazy money and then get to ride them in the end. Although that only works if this actually works, which I'm not quite sure if it will. So let's talk about the bike itself. It's a Canyon Speedmax CFSL. It's a 2022 model. It is, other than the crash, in very good condition. It's been ridden a little, and there's lots of ways that you can tell that. For example, the disc behind the cassette, I know some people call this the dork disc. I'm sure they're not that much of a hindrance, but things like that show that it's not actually been ridden a huge amount. Canyon has an app where you can add the bike to your garage, and I've added the bike to my garage, and I can see that all of the components are the ones that were put on it when it was new. I know it's only a couple of years old, but that just reiterates that, yeah, this is like a legit bike. It's not been fiddled with, it's not been messed with yet. And yeah, really, really encouraging. So it's got Shimano Ultegra 11 speed group set. It is a mechanical group set. And interestingly, it's got SRAM brakes. I don't think Shimano do a non-Di2 time trial hydraulic brake lever. So therefore Canyon had to mix and match. So it's got SRAM calipers, SRAM rotors, and SRAM levers, and I'm assuming SRAM hoses as well, but then the Shimano group set. So a mix and match, but actually it's mix and match from factory, which is interesting. And the first problem is that I do think this is one of the Shimano recall cranks, so I will try and get that looked at. I've got another one to get looked at as well I've not got round to yet, but as a package, I think that's okay. I've used mechanical gears on a time trial bike years ago that didn't really work. Now I flick through the gears on this just when the bike's in the air and they actually work. So that's probably been a big change in the last few years that mechanical gears now actually work. So I'm on the fence about those. The wheel set is the DT Swiss ARC 1600 wheel set. These are pretty good wheels. They're tubeless ready. They're set up clincher as they are now. It's an 80mm deep rear wheel and a 62mm deep front wheel. I think that is a perfect package for the majority of events. It's not super deep on the front, so if it's windy, you're probably going to be okay, but then it is a bit deeper on the back so that it's still a bit faster than if it was a shallower wheel. I think that's a great setup, paired with either a cheap disc wheel or an easy disc wheel cover, something like that. That would be the perfect package. Now with it being the SL and not the SLX, the tubes aren't as deep, it's not quite as integrated, it hasn't got integrated hydration, but it's got some tool storage at the bottom bracket. It is only a rubber thing, I'm worried that stuff's going to fall out of it. But the top tube storage looks quite good, quite deep, and yeah, it's got a solid lid on it, so that looks pretty cool. The cockpit is adjustable. It's a carbon base bar, but it's like spherical in the middle, circular in the middle, so you can adjust the angle really easily, and the extensions can be pushed in and out as well. So I was talking to the seller about this actually. He had a bike fit on this bike and didn't need to change anything. I think that is worth so much money in itself. Like if you go for a bike fit and you've got to buy different carbon extensions and different bits that cost loads of money, it just like adds a lot of cost to it, whereas something that is adjustable I think is really worth its weight in gold. Right, that's all the good stuff. Let's get to the bad bits, because there are a couple of biggies. So this is it. This is the crash damage, and I will zoom in a little bit for you so you can see that closer up while I'm talking. And it is a serious impact. Now, if I'm to put my finger there, you can hear that. That's never a good sign for carbon. And it looks like it's just like one fracture down there and then across there. Now, I'm not a carbon expert. However, I have spoken to a couple of carbon experts who reassure me that this is fixable. Now, how expensive it is, I don't know, but that is the only real mark on the bike. There's a little mark on the base bar, but there aren't any other marks on the bike at all that I can find. I've been around it with a cloth and had a good look around it. That doesn't necessarily mean there's not any other damage. That I'll get the carbon specialist to assess all of that as well. Of course, you can't see all the damage, but it's the risk you take when you buy a bike that's been crashed, and I think it's reassuring to see that you can see like the one big impact where it's toppled over on that side. I do also like seeing things like this, that it's got like the original stickers on as well, so you just know that it is genuinely like hardly ridden, and it's got a one-sided power meter on it as well. The other big problem is at the front end. Now, if you've been following this Canyon story, or if you've got one of these bikes, you probably know what I'm going to say, and that is that Canyon have actually issued a stop ride recall. Now, sometimes brands will issue recalls and they'll say, send us this back and we'll replace it, but sometimes they send like a stop ride one, which is like, this is safety critical, you can't ride your bike until we're going to fix it. And Canyon haven't actually said what the fix is yet. So what they've said is, in some circumstances, I'll put a thing on screen actually, basically the steerer can snap. Now, I haven't looked at this, I don't know if it's a point of failure yet or not, or whether it's actually a problem. And to be honest, I hadn't heard of it until that point anyway, but essentially, even if I was to fix that chainstay, I shouldn't ride this yet anyway, because Canyon say not to ride it, so I might get this on the turbo when that is fixed. But yeah, we await an update from that. Canyon have said they're going to issue an update in December, so for people who have perhaps got winter races on, or they're in the southern hemisphere and have got racing on, they're not able to ride their bikes. But yeah, interesting to see, and I'll await their updates. Also, I did know about the cockpit thing before I bought the bike. It actually came out during that time of, oh, it's not for sale, it is for sale, and I decided that, well, I trust in Canyon that they're going to actually sort it. The warranty is transferable. I know that they will resolve it one way or another, so I guess we'll just wait and see as to what that is. The rumour is that it's going to be some sort of sleeve for the steerer tube, or some sort of different stem or something like that, so I guess we'll just wait and see. But yeah, there we go. There's my brand new second-hand to me Facebook Marketplace edition crashed Canyon Speedmax. What do you think about the bike as a whole? Would you ride a crash damaged, repaired bike? Should I have it all painted? Should I have it kept yellow? I don't really know. All these things are going through my head. I deliberately haven't said how much I've paid for this bike yet, because I want to cover it in a episode specifically specifically about the buy, repair, resell process if I come to resell it, but the more I've had my hands on this bike, the more I'm tempted to actually like ride it next year now, but I can't keep all of them, so we'll have to see how that goes. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I will be next week taking this to a carbon repair place, so see how that goes.